at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights. If we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live Thursday, June 20th. I'm Dean Obeidallah, hoping to be your MBFF. We are live. It's a lot to cover, as you would imagine. I was just chatting with Michelangelo Signorelli about the Joe Biden story and what he was hearing from his listeners, because I always like to hear what listeners are saying to us about issues, either on my show or on other shows as well. We're going to touch on that as well. But first, a little humor, because we need it, my friends. Here's Colbert slamming Donald Trump's kickoff of his campaign from Tuesday night. Here's clip number one, please.
Last night, President Trump was in Orlando, Florida, to officially relaunch the campaign he has never stopped. And for those of you who are hoping that now that he's president, his tone would change. Last night was a swift kick in the old hopey-changey, right in the old change purse. Jim, let's go to the highlights.
Our radical Democrat opponents are driven by hatred, prejudice, and rage. Democrats want to splinter us into factions and tribes. They want us divided.
Yes. Democrats want to divide Americans into tribes that can't stand each other, says the man speaking to an angry mob all wearing the same hat. We will not become an angry tribe. Now everybody chant, MAGA, MAGA, CAG, CAG, MAGA, MAGA, CAG, CAG.
So Donald Trump talking about divisiveness and racism is the projection of Trump. And then Jimmy Kimmel had a funny moment here about there were two Donald Trumps at the rally, and there's actually another one who's probably worse than the father. Here is clip number two.
The president wasn't alone on stage. He got a rousing intro from his wife, Melania, who said she looks forward to being elected to 6 more years in the White House. And none other than the president's third favorite son showed up. DJ TJ was there to remind us that our president, as terrible as he may be, isn't even the worst Donald Trump.
You guys remember back in 2016 when my father said, why can't we have 2%? Why can't we have 3%? Why can't we do better? And Obama comes up. Well, Donald, there's no magic wand for that, Donald. You can't just make it happen. Well, abracadabra, buddy. There is a magic wand.
Oh, that's great. Can it make you disappear? Because I'd like to...
I've never disliked the child of a president as much as I despise Donald Trump Jr., who is a cut from the same scumbag cloth as his dad. So today is World Refugee Day, quick thing here, and it's an important day for people like myself and countless others who are related to or the children of refugees. My father was a Palestinian refugee, came to America, thankfully came here, started a new life, met my Sicilian mom, started a family. He brought his brothers over to this country. They had children here, and all of them collectively, including myself, have lived a far better life here in this country with much more opportunity than I would have had in Palestine or on the Sicilian side, in Sicily, to be honest. And that's the American story. But that's the exact same story Donald Trump wants to end. And that's also what this campaign is about in 2020. These are American values. The idea of celebrating immigrants who contribute to this country, who come here and bring their family members, which we call family unification. Trump calls chain migration. Why? Because white supremacists call it chain migration. Surprise! That's exactly what goes on. I'm not even kidding. I wrote about this. And it's going to get worse because with the racism and the bigotry. I wrote about it, but Donald Trump today again confirmed it. Gave an interview to Time magazine in which he was asked about reaching out to swing voters. And what did Trump say? And this should scare all of us. He said, quote, "I think my base is so strong, I'm not sure that I have to do that. And do that is to reach out beyond his base." And his campaign manager, Brad Parscale, added, People all think you have to change people's minds. You have to get people to show up. That's what you have to do. It goes, the mantra of the 2020 campaign for Trump is turnout, turnout, turnout. How do you think the Trump campaign will turn out their base? You think with nuanced policy ideas, like intellectual discussions about issues like healthcare and childcare and climate change? I hope you're laughing, because of course not. They will get them to the polls with the same bigotry and racism that they gave in 2016, just amplified because Trump can now use policy about it. So that's what we're in store for. We have a rough time the next 503 days to November 3rd, 2020. And we have to pick the best Democratic candidate that's going to lead us to victory, which gets me to the Joe Biden controversy and what's kind of exploded here. And I want to talk about it in the full context of what Joe Biden said. I'll share my views, but I sincerely want to hear from you on this issue, because there's been a strong debate among Democrats, and there should be. This is the primary season. This is where we have our debates. What I don't like are some of the Democrats who are literally lying about what Joe Biden said, or suggesting it means things that it didn't mean, the same way we would say things about Donald Trump. But there's still valid criticism of Biden here on this issue and on policy. I just don't think we need to do the slash and burn, destroy every Democratic candidate by literally saying things that are not there. There's enough there in what Joe Biden said, which is very, very troubling. So that's not an issue. That's my point. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it to the actual words. So what did Joe Biden say? He was at a fundraiser in New York City, not far from our studios. We weren't invited. It was a high-priced ticket thing on Tuesday. And at this, he was talking to people, and it's all based on pool reporters. So I can't find the audio anywhere. So we're just reading transcripts of what pool reporters said. And there's no dispute, it seems, what he said. And he was talking about working with the other side. And in this case, he cited two senators, James Eastland of Mississippi and Herman Talmadge of Georgia, both segregationists, both vile segregationist guys. Big racist point. And Biden says, quote, "I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland." And then the reporter notes he imitated the senator's Southern accent. And he said, "He never called me boy. He always called me son." Then he went on, talked about Talmadge being the meanest guy he knows. Biden said, and this is not quoted, this is paraphrased by the reporter, that the young liberal part of the party sees him as old-fashioned for wanting to work with the opposition. And here's quotes here. He says, "At least there was some civility," talking about the past. "We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything. We got things done. We got it finished. But today, you look at the other side and you're the enemy, not the opposition, the enemy. We don't talk to each other anymore." Adding, "If we can't reach a consensus in our system, what happens? It encourages and demands the abuse of power by a president." So when the firestorm began, the idea of why did he cite, to make the point about working with the other side, he's done that before, he's gotten some pushback, because it seems like a fantasy to say you can work with the Trump side in the world we live in. But you can criticize that if you want. He got criticism clearly, and I'll play some clips, for randomly picking two senators who supported segregation to make this point, which was bizarre. Because you could have picked any Republicans. These were Democrats who were segregationists, but they were very, very conservative. And I will just be fair. If Donald Trump, to make a point, randomly picked two segregationists, we would be going crazy about that. And they're not the same person. That's because that's Trump and his history. Biden doesn't have that history. But I understand people being upset. And his choice of using the word boy, to me, was just stunning. Why would you say that word? Why would you say it in that context? I don't get it. As you would imagine, as you probably know by now, the 2020 Democrats, some of them very outspoken in criticism of Joe Biden. Here was Senator Kamala Harris yesterday. Here's clip number 3, please.
I have a great deal of respect for Vice President Biden. He's done very good work, and he has served our country in a very noble way. But to coddle the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
And then Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders were very critical. Many candidates. Cory Booker sort of took the lead in a way because it went back and forth. Cory Booker first put out a statement yesterday saying Vice President Biden's relationship with proud segregationists are not the model for how we make America a safer and more inclusive place for black people. Adding, frankly, I'm disappointed he hasn't issued an immediate apology for the pain his words are dredging up for many Americans. He should. And then last night, around 9 o'clock Eastern time, Joe Biden was asked by a reporter, would he apologize? and referencing Cory Booker. And here's Joe Biden's response. Here's clip number 4, please.
Cory should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period. Period. Period.
So that was his response. It was very quick. It's not cutting it short. The reporter grabbed him coming out of a car, and then he walked away after that, and that was the end of it. His campaign has made the statement that Joe Biden was not agreeing with segregationists. He's not on board with them, that he was just showing he could work with people, even those he vilely disagreed with. That's their point of the campaign. Obviously, others are disagreeing with that. Today, Speaker Pelosi defended Joe Biden, and this happened not too long ago. Today, here's clip number 6, Speaker Pelosi.
I think that authenticity is the most important characteristic that candidates have to convey to the American people. And Joe Biden is authentic. He has lived his life. He considers certain things a resource, that he has worked across the aisle. That's what he was saying. That's not what this election is about. This election is about how we connect with the American people, addressing their kitchen table needs. For us to spend time on an issue like this, which is important, but it's not central to what the election is about. What the election is about is the financial stability and well-being of America's working families. Central to that is lowering health care costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, bigger paychecks by creating more opportunities, building the infrastructure of America in a green way, and having cleaner government by giving them the assurance that what we do here is in the public and the people's interest, not the special dark money interest. That's what the election is about.
So Speaker Pelosi is saying that's, in her view, what the election is about. I think Speaker Pelosi is right on some part. I think she is out of touch with the Democratic base on other parts of this and what's going on in our base right now. And it's also true on the impeachment issue. And then I just want to play Cory Booker responding to Joe Biden, saying, I'm not going to give an apology. Here's Cory Booker on CNN saying, I'm his response to Joe Biden going, I'm not going to apologize. So here's clip number 5, please.
Are you going to apologize? The vice president said I should know better, and this is what I know. As a black man in America, I know the deeply harmful and hurtful usage of the word boy and how it was used to dehumanize and degrade. I know that segregationists, like the two people you were talking about, through their laws and their language, deeply wounded this nation, and the present day manifestations of their work can still be seen in black and brown communities like the one I go home to. I know that somebody running for president of the United States, somebody running to be the leader of our party, should know that using the word boy in the way he did can cause hurt and pain, and we need a presidential nominee and leader of our party to be sensitive to that. And the last thing I know is I know that I was raised to speak truth to power, and that I will never apologize for doing that. And Vice President Biden shouldn't need this lesson.
Clearly, next week's debates are interesting. Joe Biden and Cory Booker are not in the same debate night this time, but this will be an issue. What I wanted to give people here, this is objective facts about Joe Biden's civil rights record. He touted his civil rights record, and I just want to be clear about what it is, the negative and the positive of it, so that we're all on the same page. Because if you don't like what Biden said, I want to hear from you. If you're not troubled by it, that's fine. I want to hear from you as well. There's enough policy issue with Joe Biden, though, that as Democrats, and with every candidate out there, we have such a divergence of views on issues that we don't have to be like Fox News or the Republicans in trying to take things out of context or inserting things in there that may or may not be true. And I'm not just saying this for Biden. I'm saying what we're going to see, because this is heating up. The emotions are building. The candidates are getting tighter now. We're just a handful of months away from the first caucus in Iowa. The first debates are coming up. And I got a sense where we're going is going to be, we've got to vet our candidates. That's fine. Make a distinction. You can do it on policy. But if someone says something racist, don't get me wrong. I'm just being clear. Let's not be the other side. Let's not do what they do to Congresswoman Omar or Congresswoman Tlaib or the list goes on, AOC. Here's the facts on Joe Biden's civil rights record. The negative part is that he criticized integration-era busing in the early 70s. This is not a policy thing, but he eulogized Strom Thurmond. We all know, horrible racist guy. Biden's famous for leading the 1994 crime bill, which at the time had bipartisan support. Even African Americans, many including Hillary Clinton, have later apologize or at least acknowledge the consequences that were not intended. Joe Biden still has not yet. He might at some point. I'm not sure. The positive is 1987, when Joe Biden was the head of Senate Judiciary Committee, he essentially was able to stop Robert Bork, a Republican, being confirmed. And his argument was that Bork was going to roll back civil rights. Joe Biden got a 100% score by the NAACP on affirmative reaction, so that's pretty impressive. In 2005, Biden co-sponsored issuing a commemorative postage stamp of Rosa Parks. And of course, he served as vice president for Barack Obama and did an effective job there. I think served in the way that vice president can compliment the president without overshadowing them, and was extremely respectful. And I think that's why he's polling really well now with African Americans. That could change. South Carolina, he's blowing out the Democrats, blowing out the other Democrats with the black vote. And I picked South Carolina. That's the first primary. That's not Iowa, New Hampshire. That's states that are like 90% white. But some of the attack on Biden, I mean, literally by people I'm watching on Twitter and stuff, is that he's a racist. He supports segregation. No, to me, here's my view, and I'm not arguing this view. I'm just telling you what my view of the spectrum of what it could be. But I want to hear from you because I want to share with people the view of the base here. Because Sunday I'm supposed to be on Kenneth Gibson's show on MSNBC at like 3 o'clock, and I'm sure this issue will come up. And I'll share my view, but I want to share what I'm hearing from people. Now, why he picked segregationists to make this point is beyond me. Why he used the term boy, beyond me. It's wrong. I get his point. So if you're going to say, look, he just randomly picked these people to say these were the most vile people he could think of at the time and showed, look, I was still civil with them and I can find common ground. That's one thing. He picked the wrong names to do it. I think they're horrible names if you hear really what these people were about. He was oblivious to it, perhaps. The more dark, sinister side is that he was literally signaling to the white disaffected voters in the South, the ones who know the names of these segregationist senators, because most people don't know their names, the ones who know their history, and telling them, not that I agree with you, because he's not doing that, folks. There's no way Joe Biden's saying I agree with segregation or racism. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying, I would say, and this is the far end of the spectrum of what the most negative thing I could think of, is he's telling the white supremacists or the segregationists down there, I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to demonize you. In fact, I've worked with your ilk in the past, and we were civil to each other. So if you vote for me over Trump, that's what you're going to get. You're going to have a guy who's not going to go up there and demonize and say, you're a white supremacist and you're vile and you shouldn't be in society, all the stuff that I say every day on the show and in my writing. That's what I believe. But he's signaling to them on that issue that you don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to be horrible to you. I'm going to get business done and don't worry about me coming after you. To me, that's the spectrum. It goes from completely just oblivious to picking segregationists because he thought they were the most extreme example. I don't know why. And using the term boy, which is just wrong. To the worst case, he really was signaling to this mythical white working class disaffected voter that is going to vote for a Democrat, even though they support Trump 100% and they have no problem with racism and bigotry. They're going to come over and support us now. That's the other side of it. That's, to me, horrific, that side. And anybody who calls in and says, how are we going to reach the white middle-class voter in the middle? Well, we're going to talk about our policies, and you hope they come along. But we're not going to do it at the expense of all the other communities that we fight for, because we're the only party fighting for Muslims and African Americans, Latinos, and the LGBT community. The other side is demonizing all of our communities. So, and I say this all the time, and I'm not being glib, I would rather lose fighting for what we believe in than win by being timid and not standing for anything, by being Republican light. I'd rather lose and have 4 more years of Trump and fight him every day than elect a Democrat. And I'm not saying Biden is this at all, but I'm saying Biden's going to get pushed more and more on this issue now. He got pushed on the Hyde Amendment. We have to push him here as well. It cannot be you're going to be Republican light and it's a kumbaya fest. It's not. It's a battle. If the Trumpers had their way, there'd be Muslims banned completely. You'd have African Americans just demonized into silence by low IQ and dumb and unintelligent, everything else he's done. Latinos, any immigrant just banned. The end of the American dream of having immigrants come here and bring their family. LGBT community, you actually see the policies. You don't even need me to go, what would he do? He actually imposed the transgender ban for the military and rolling back Obama-era regulations to enhance equality so that people, our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ community, would not get turned away from homeless shelters or from getting medical care. And they're doing this because it's the Pence Christian Sharia law stuff. So Joe Biden's got to be pushed on this. There's no doubt. I'm just trying to prevent it from us destroying our fellow candidates, not just Biden, all of them, by doing what the right does and literally saying, I know the words aren't there, but he said he loves racism. He didn't say that. He has no record supporting racism. Does he have a record from the 70s and 80s and 90s that are out of step with today? Absolutely. Has he done other things that were positive? Yes, absolutely. That's why he gave you his full record. And I'm not supporting Biden. I'm not supporting anyone. I just want to be fair every time Democrats are attacked to give the objective facts. And then you tell me what you think. And that's what I want to hear from you. You are my guest to the top of the hour, 866-997-4748. Give me a call right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show. At this point, the question is not who connected to Donald Trump as a criminal. The question is anyone